they're doing great things here in this wonderful city of Portland. But it was horrible, choking smog. We burned our trash in our backyard. Again, not in some scofflaw manner. Everybody burned their trash in their backyard. Anybody had a home in the valley and many places of LA, you were asked to burn your trash. This in smoggy LA with a mountain range and a thermal inversion layer. And we had horrible choking smog. By 1970, I said enough, and I got involved. I wanted to do something. I wanted to do something to honor my dad. I wanted to do something to clean up the air. And I bought an electric car. I started recycling. I started composting. I started buying all biodegradable soaps and detergents. I changed my diet to healthy stuff. And what happened next, I didn't count on. I was doing stuff for the environment. I wanted to be green. It was the first Earth Day. Thought it would be good. I didn't count on what happened next. I started to save money. It was good for my bottom line. In 1970, by the way, I didn't have St. Elsewhere. I didn't have a TV series. I was a struggling actor. My dad had died. I couldn't go to him for a handout anymore. I was pretty broke. But I did that. I bought an electric car. I don't think a fancy electric car like the EV1. It was $950. When I say car, I'm being quite grand. It was a golf cart with a windshield wiper and a horn, okay? It was a Taylor Dunn. It had a tiller. It didn't have a steering wheel. I'm not making this up. You can look online, Taylor-Dunn, D-U-N-N-E. They still make electric cars. I bought one in 1970, and I drove it around. And it was simply cheaper plugging it into the wall, the electricity, than it was buying gas, even in 1970 gas prices. And it was much cheaper to service. There was no tune-up or oil change or valve job or radiator flush or smog check. It was cheap. And recycling was certainly cheap. Composting was cheap. Growing my own food was cheap. All this stuff was cheap. Everything that I did, I got some energy efficiency little program going. It put money in my pocket. I went, what's up with this? Maybe my dad was smart. He didn't use the word environmentalist, but he was one. He was Irish, and he'd been through the Depression. He turned out the lights and saved string and saved tinfoil, and he threw nothing away. Environmentalist. Just Irish and cheap like me. Thank you. There's some Irish people out there. We'll have an Irish 7-course dinner in a while. A 6-pack and a boiled potato. But I'll tell you, I did all this stuff and I started to save money. And it felt good. I felt like I was doing something. And I saved more money. Pretty soon I could afford a little solar oven. Pretty soon I could afford a rain barrel to collect my rainwater, like Joe is doing and Pam are doing over there at Eco Village. I could afford these things that were inexpensive. I kept going up the ladder. By 1985, I had saved enough money I could afford solar. Not solar electric then. I could afford solar hot water. Pretty soon I could afford a solar electric. 20 years after I started this. And this is the point I'm trying to make, folks. Many of you are out there saying, hey, I can't afford solar today, and I understand that. I understand a lot of people can't afford solar, but can you afford a light bulb? Can you afford, a Max Pass, a public transportation pass? Can you afford to ride a bicycle when weather and fitness permit? Can you afford to buy an Energy Star appliance if you're going to buy something anyway? Can you afford some gardening? Can you afford to compost? Of course you can. All that stuff, compost, dirt cheap. Talk about cheap. Cheap and easy. You pick the low-hanging fruit first. You don't run up Mount Everest. You do the cheap and easy stuff. I didn't. I couldn't afford any stuff expensive in 1970. I picked the low-hanging fruit at the time, and I moved up, and I could do more. And I saved money, and I could do more. Pretty soon, as I said, in 1990, I could afford solar panels and a much nicer electric car. And now, I drive an electric car around LA. For longer trips, I take my wife's Prius. And it's not that I have a lot of money, but I have something I think better than a lot of money. I don't need a lot of money. I can get, thank you, can I have a hand for that? And believe me, they think it's nutty still in Hollywood, but back in 1970 and 1990 even, they thought it was real nutty. A 1,500 square foot house in Hollywood, they thought I was out of my mind. Everything's big in Hollywood and everything's grand. And I thought, no, this will be good. I won't, have to worry about things in the future. And it's good for my bottom line. I have lots of friends who went for the big mansion, the crazy house and what have you. And then they couldn't afford it and they lost their house because the TV series was canceled. They stopped getting the movie work. No matter what happens now, I'm fine for the rest of my days, not because I have a lot of money, because I don't need a lot of money. What could be better than that? And you see nothing but these wonderful vendors out there, and I urge you to see them all. People are doing stuff with recycled wood, recycled materials. They have all kinds of, energy efficiency things, weather stripping and good insulation. There's amazing technologies out there. Solar tube, there's a great technology. There's no, these energy efficient lights are fine, but the solar tube, you're using sunlight to get wonderful light. It's like a skylight on steroids. It's this brilliant lighting system that uses daylight, even on a cloudy day. I'm telling you, it comes in so bright because they have these like Fresnel lenses and stuff. There's wonderful technologies there. Look at all these vendors. This is where our future lies. This is where our future lies. I'm really convinced that we can do this, that we can clean up the air, lessen our dependence on Mideast oil. And you talk about national security. I can't imagine anything better for our national security than lessening our dependence on Mideast oil. 15 of the 19 hijackers had Saudi passports. I really think that we need to move in another direction, and we can do it. We can do it. I see nothing but success stories. Nobody went broke doing this. There's companies that have made a lot of money. You look at some of the companies that have done very well in recent years and weathered the dot-com bubble and when that burst and everything. There's companies, and a lot of these environmental companies have done very, very well, and you see many of them out there. You see big window companies like Anderson out there, with their double pane windows, energy efficient windows. Companies big and small doing things that are really good for our future and for our children's future. Because otherwise, how will our children judge us if we continue on this party? Just continue to party on and use all our precious resources and leave them with a denuded landscape and a diminished future. I don't think they'll judge us very well. I think we have to do this for our children and their children, and we can. Now, I'm going to take questions now because I don't want to ramble on with just a speech. I want to take your questions and hear from you folks, because that's the best part of this. If I just speak up here all night, I'll bore myself to tears. I know you're going to have questions, and I want to hear them now. And thank you, Portland, so much for having me here tonight. Thank you.